Hello, and welcome to the seventh installment of The Invisible Guitar. I'm excited about today because, as you can see, there's no guitar. And really, one of the main messages of my channel is how you can practice and sharpen the saw, which is your mind, without a guitar. A guitar is just a tool. It's just an instrument, you know? And the greatest instrument that you have is your mind. Think about that. That's what's really going to cut through. One of the ways you can think about that is if you're a scuba diver and you're down in a reef, coral reef, and you see a hole inside of the reef, are you going to stick your hand in there to see what would happen? No. If you were wise and a good diver, you'd have your diver's knife. And you would stick that knife in there and poke around and see what was going on. There might be an eel in there or something that's going to snap your hand off. So this is how the mental game always precedes the physical. And that's even kind of a spiritual principle. So let's get right to it. So the message of today is this. You should always try and be the worst guy in your band. I want to say that again. You should always try and be the worst guy in your band. Now that's a little bit counterintuitive, isn't it? Because I know, all of us want to shine and we want to be in the spotlight from time to time. But if you surround yourself with people that can do things that you can't do, it lifts you to a higher level. Okay? And I first heard this from Clint Strong. Told me Merle Haggard told it to him. And if you want to see a good band, just look at any lineup that Merle Haggard had. He had a really incredible band and always had the best players. And Clint was one of those. And Clint told it to me, and I ran with it. Another person who was really known for having incredible bands was Duke Ellington. Class act. And somebody asked Duke Ellington one time how he always had such an incredible band. And he said, I pay them. It's another important thing. Take care of your guys if you can. I've had gigs where I didn't make any money and I had to pawn guitars to play the people I had with me. If you have a dream, sometimes you have to really take some risk and go out on the edge to do it. I think there's a great story that Sylvester Stallone tells about that. So that's just a good example. I've had a really great couple of bands myself that I've been in my solo stuff, and not only was it an honor to be on stage with them, but these guys, they got your back, and I could make a mistake and a drummer like John Carruth would make me look like I meant to do it, or like this gig here in Austin where our bass player couldn't make it, so I called Brad Hauser to do it. He lives there in Austin, and oh, what a great gig. If you're on stage with Brad Hauser and Clark Erickson and John Carruth, things are going to be all right. I had a really great night on guitar. You can see it from my slug face over there. So there's a few examples, in the present day world where you can kind of look at this, where people let their egos get in the way and they're fighting, and people that used to be together can't get along, and then, the dynamics change and the band is not as burning as they used to be. We don't need to go through myriad examples of that. But I just think that's something to think about. I kind of learned that growing up. A lot of the players I listened to, Chick Corea, oh, he always has the best band, the electric band. Al Di Meola. I mean, he had guys like Steve Gadd and Anthony Jackson playing with him. Gumby is still with him for like 30 years, percussion. And those guys, they can play. And if you're in that environment, you're going to be on your toes no matter how good you are. And, you've heard me talk about that with my friend Alan Holdsworth. Oh, gosh, seeing Alan with Vinnie Colaiuta, I remember, the first time that Alan came to Texas, he just kind of put together a quick group because he didn't know what was going to happen. It was kind of a last-minute thing. And once he saw how good the crowds were here and stuff, he decided he wanted to come back a few years later, and he calls me up and he says, hey, I'd really like to come through with Chad Wackerman and Jimmy Johnson. I said, all right, let's do it. And that's a really special time in his career and life. Those two guys, they really gel great with him. They play incredibly well with him. And those shows sold out, and the playing was so. I've never seen Alan so fluid and comfortable, because those guys he's played with for 20 years, and it was just a different side of Alan. It was so burning. I mean, Fred Hamilton and another dear friend of ours I remember at the show in Denton were just high-fiving each other like, whoa, what is going on with this? Jim McNeely, I remember those two watching. It was a really intense chemistry, and that's what you want, okay? So practice guitar this weekend, and remember how we did this. We did this in 7 steps, just like there's 7 days of the week. And there's also kind of a spiritual side to it, you know, because that's how the world works. You know, so whoever created us had a thought first. So always try and be the worst guy in your band. Surround yourself with people that can do what you can't do, and stay on your toes, and you will always be growing that way. It's okay if you're a little uncomfortable. That's what we want. Okay? I'll see you next week.